Hello everybody, I'm Melissa. Welcome back to Book Bar and welcome to my top 23 books of 2023. They are not really ranked in any particular order, but I do have it in like 3 categories. So category 1, it was like the bottom 2 of the 23, and those are 2 non-romances, which is why they're low on the list, because obviously I am a romance channel and most of you are here for romance recs, not for other things. But I did read 2 books that stood out that were not romances, so those are like tier 1, and then there's tier 2, which is like from like 21 to book 13. So like the second, like I loved them, but like they're not like top, like they're not books that I'm probably gonna like, I'm not gonna prioritize rereading them, but like they are great books. I might reread them in 2025. Just like they were great, they stood out, they're books that are memorable. And then the top 12, which other than 1 and 2 are kind of, could be in any order. I loved them all pretty equally, but 1 and 2 are like 1 and 2. Or actually they're both number 1, but I just have them 1 and 2, and the one I read first is number 1 and the one I read second is number 2, but it's not really like, so that is how it is. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and get on into it. At like the first tier, the first 2 books, the first one is Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. I read this is a thriller that I read as like reading outside of my comfort zone, and I absolutely adored this book. The blurb of it being where the crowded sing meets Twilight meets Thelma and Louise was absolutely perfect. Like it was just perfect. It was a book that like I still think about all of the time. It's just stuck in my brain, and I absolutely adored it. So yeah, that's why that was there. And then the next one is The Will of the Many by James Islington, and I was shocked at how much I loved this book. Like this is an epic fantasy, and it's like a historical fantasy that has all sorts of twists and turns, and like who's nice, who's good, who's bad, who do we want to root for, who do we hate. Like it's so everyone, like anyone can flip on a dime. This follows, oh, I can't think of his name, Vis, and Vis wants revenge on the hierarchy, and basically the hierarchy is like an MLM. So like there's like a group of people, and then they feed their power into like a group of people, and then like a smaller group of people, and they feed their power into like a smaller group of people, and then like they feed their power into like this one top person. So basically everyone below them is getting, like this person at the top is getting all the power from everyone below them, and it was just so interesting, and I loved it. And there was like so many, like I'm still like confused about what happened, and like want to know, like I need to know. So I'm excited to continue this series, and I will probably actually reread this one just because I was so confused. But I think now that like I've had discussions with people, I think I could understand it a little bit more. But I loved it. It was fantastic. So those are the first 2. Now into like tier 2, which this one actually kind of cheating, but The Next Life Duet. So The Love of My Next Life and This Life and All the Rest. I actually think This Life and All the Rest I preferred a little bit more, but I did really enjoy this one. This follows Macon and Lennon, and they make Lennon, I think, was it Lennon? She also Lennon, but she goes by something else in this book. Like other people call her something else, but it's just by her middle name. This book, so book 1 is like Macon and Lennon in high school, and then something happens and Lennon leaves and like flees the country and goes to live in France, I believe, or England or something. And yeah, so Macon is Lennon's best friend's brother, and Lennon's best friend does not like her brother Claire, and it was just, I don't know, it was crazy, and I loved it just so much. Like I don't know, I still think about this Duet all of the time. So yeah, that is the like first tier, and I'm excited to read another book by Benson. So then we have Arresting Witch Face by Juliette Cross. This is the 5th book in the Stay a Spell series. I also read Grimm and Barrett and Always Practice Safe Hacks this year, and I loved all 3 of them. But this one, like Ruben and Jules, I think are just the couple that like everyone, like they just stand out to everyone. Like they are the best couple. You've been rooting for them since book 1. Like just absolutely adore this book. Ruben and Jules a second chance. They had a thing years ago, and then something happened, and Jules broke up with Ruben, and now it's like, Ruben's finally like, I'm done waiting. Like, I'm done letting you do your thing. Like, we are going to be together. And they have to go on like they have to go overseas together. So there's like only one bed at times. It's just, they travel. It's great. I loved it so much. So yes. Then we have Caution to the Wind by Giana Darling. I, like everyone else, had been waiting patiently for this book, or impatiently as some people are. But this is a May and Axeman, and I loved their story. Like, I didn't think I would, like, because it was just so long and daunting, and I was like, ugh, I don't know, like, it's like 700 pages, like, do I really want to, and I flew through it, like, I read it in, like, 2 days. I absolutely adored it. They are couple, they were the perfect couple, like, they, just, like, there's not words to describe how much I loved them, and, yeah, and I love that, like, it kind of feels like this is like a second, like, so like the first like 6 books in the Fallen Men series pretty much follow like the same like family slash like little like subsets of that family. So it's all of Zeus's family. Like, it's the, you know, Zeus's son, Zeus, his daughter, and then like who Zeus and Zeus's wife, her family. So it's like pretty much like that group. And now it's like we're expanding the motorcycle club, the MC club, and like learning more about like the side characters who we've seen in all the other books or have been part of like other books, especially like this newer ones. And yeah, it's just fantastic. I loved it so much. Then we have Second Down Darling by Lex Martin. This is the 4th book in the Varsity Dads series. This is a like first chance without ever having a second chance, and it's like siblings X. The angst, the tension. Charlie and Jake were just chef's kiss. Like, I absolutely adored it so much. Like, I still, like, I think it's my favorite of the series, where, you know, I've loved pretty much every book I've read in the series, but like that one just, I don't know what it was. It was like crack candy, and I needed more of it. So then we have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This one I know a lot of people didn't love, but I loved it. This is Brit and Jacob. And Jacob has like hardcore, has very anxiety, very high anxiety. And he has a 3-legged dog. It's just adorable. So Jacob comes to work at the same hospital as Brit. Brit is Alexis from Part of Your World's best friend. And they go to work, and Brit thinks Jacob is trying to like take her job. Like, she is up for this promotion, and she thinks Jacob's trying to take this job. He's not. He has no desire in doing that. He just wanted a new job, and so he goes to work there, and they kind of get off on their own foot, and he decides to write her a letter. So then they write letters back and forth, and it was just, I loved it. I loved it so much. And her brother has a kidney disease, and of course Jacob's gonna help with that. So yeah, just adorable, perfect, loved it. Next up, we have Making Faces by Amy Harmon. This is Fern and Ambrose, and this book was just like absolutely amazing. Like, I think about it constantly. So Ambrose and Fern were friends when they were young, like childhood friends, kind of. They also just didn't run in the same circles. This book has like many interwoven stories. Like, it just, you will bawl your eyes out, ugly crying. Absolutely. I loved it so much. Ambrose goes off to the military. He comes back. He's very scarred. He doesn't want to let anyone in. And Fern has always kind of been like the awkward girl, and they learn to lean on each other and to really like learn how to be together, and it was just absolutely beautiful, and I loved it, and I think everyone should read it. And also, I didn't mention, this was a 12th rec from 12 Friends last year, and from Lizelle's books, and it was just a perfect rec, and I loved it so much. Next up, we have Maestro by Auden Dar. This was the angsty, emotional, like, book I needed when I read it, and I just absolutely adored it. This was Aurelia and Chadwick, and Chadwick is supposed to be this like music maestro, and his grandpa is very much like training him to be this way, and they meet at a like preparatory school for musicians, and they become fast friends, and they're really close, and then like things lead to that thing, you know, friendship leads to more, and then something happens, and it's like cut out contact, all of the things, and then like something happens, and then like it's years later, and they're back, and like then something else. Like it's just always right person, wrong time, and I eat that up. Like I love that so much, and it just, I absolutely adored it. It was angsty, it was beautiful. Yes. Then like the opposite of angsty was the Brickwall and the Bombshell. This is the 4th book in the New Orleans Rebels series by Jiffy. I read this whole series this year, and I loved every single book, but the newest one was my favorite. Well, yeah, it is. I loved Greer and Mac's story. Like they were just like, it was amazing. Like I love fake dating and like forced proximity in that form, and it was just like she has to go live with him, and yeah, I absolutely adored it. And well, the whole series I really did love, but this one was my favorite. It probably goes this one, then the 3rd book, then the 2nd book, then actually, yeah, no, then the 1st book, and then the 2nd book. So pretty much the way that they were published, other than I think I liked the first one a little bit more than the 2nd one, but the whole series was fantastic, but this one was my favorite. And then another Duet, Binding and Keeping 13. I absolutely adored Shannon and Johnny's story and the emotions that I felt while reading this. Also, I picked this one to show because I just love the flop. But this is set at like a high school in in Ireland. Yes, in Ireland. And Shannon has been bullied like crazy her whole life, and finally her mom has had enough, and so she puts her into this like prep school, you know, actually private school. And on the first day of private school, she gets kicked in the head with a rugby ball, and her mom freaks out and is like, oh my gosh. And it was Johnny who accidentally hit her in the head with the ball. Johnny has been going through his own challenges as of late, and he gets frustrated and kicks the ball, and it happens to hit Shannon, and then just their friendship grows from there, and it becomes more, and I just adored it so much. Like I read this, like the Kindle, the ebook is like 900 and something pages, and so is Keeping 13, and I read them both in like 4 days. Like I just could not put them down, and I worked. Like I had to work while also reading this. Like it was just absolutely everything. Loved it so much. Now we are into like the top tier. So books 12 to 3, and then 1 and 2 will be separate. But number 12 snuck in on the last day of the year is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This book is 100% predictable. It is totally like, there are not, you know, you can see the Hunger Games, you can see the Red Queen, like you can see, and like you can see all that happening. And but I still absolutely adored this. I tapped the crap out of it. I highlighted, I annotated, I loved it so much. Peyton and Kai were just like, the banter was everywhere. In this book, they don't even kiss. There is like a slight peck. There is nothing else in this book, and I absolutely adored this so much. Phenomenal. Loved it. Fantastic. Just, I was like, I went and I told one of my, like, in real life, good friends, I told her, I was like, you need to read it. Like, it's so good. You need to read this ASAP. And then she was like, well, I might wait till the 2nd book's out, because it does end on quite a doozy of a cliffhanger. And yeah, I had a great time with it. Also, the Red Queen, like, if you know about the brother, I'm a little concerned about what's going to happen with Kit. So, but yeah, loved it so much. Then at number 11, next up, I guess, is Butcher and Blackbird. I don't know. If you can tell, I'm filming somewhere different. I am at my aunt's house because my mom's visiting, and it's just, there's more room here, and I left my books I tried to bring all of them. I must have left them at home, a couple hours away. So that is why I don't have some of them. But this one, Butcher and Blackbird, this is Rowan and, I can't think of her name, Sloan. And they are both serial killers, and they like end up like once a year they meet up and they have this like game where they go and hunt other serial killers, and whoever wins, like, and there's just, it was fantastic. There's like dark humor in it. I loved it. I loved it so much. Like, and I'm so excited for Leather and Lark because it's like her best friend and his best friend, or his brother. So fantastic. Then we have Shadows of You by Catherine Cowles. This is the 4th book in the Lost and Found series. And this is Roan, who is like very much a recluse, like loner hero. He's like, something had happened in the 1st book and he was blamed for it. Or prior to the 1st book, but like it's in the prologue of the 1st book, and he was blamed for it. And his family never believed it. Why can't I think? Erin never believed it was him. Like, nobody believed it was him except for some of the townspeople, and some stuff happened to him that he hid from his family, and so he's just been very reclusive and quiet and shy and like step back from his family until he meets Aspen and her daughter, Katie, and their relationship was just one of the most beautiful things I've ever read. His relationship with Katie, like, she called him Mr. Grizz because he was a grumpy grizzly bear-like character, and she called him Mr. Grizz, and he just melted for her, and I absolutely adored it. Like, I adored their relationship, and just the way he opened up to Aspen, and she convinced him that he needed to open up to his family, and yeah, it was fantastic. I loved it. Next up, we have After the Storm by Laura Pavlov. This is the 5th book in the Cottonwood Cove series. I binged 2 of Laura Pavlov's series this year, and this was one of them. And this was my favorite of her books. Like, I absolutely loved Presley and Cage. And like, it was Second Chance, which is like my favorite trope. Second Chance, it was like, it's always been you. There was tattoo, like they each had a tattoo for the other one. Like, ugh. They were meant to be together, and it was just, they couldn't right person, wrong time type of thing, and I just loved it when they finally got together. And yeah, fantastic, amazing, phenomenal. The whole series was great. Like, every book was 5 stars, I think, except for maybe the 1st one, and the 4th one was a little bit like, they were both like 4 stars, but like books 2, 3, and 5 were fantastic 5 stars. Loved them. Fantastic series. Next up, we have King of Grade by Huang. This book is amazing. Like, I just don't have words for how much I loved Alessandra and Dominic, and the like things that they go through in this, and how much, like, so Alessandra and Dominic are married, and you see them in the first couple books, and like you see how he has kind of like, she's just always kind of alone and like very sad. And then in this book, it starts out where he misses something very important to her, you know, and she's like, I'm done. And I loved that there were like a little bits of flashbacks to their relationship when they first got together in college, but it wasn't like a full like dual timeline. It was just like little flashbacks because you saw, like, you knew that they loved each other. You knew how much they felt, how much they cared about each other. You could tell, but it was just, Dominic had gone into this, like, he had been poor when he was young, and he wanted to have money and never worry, and he kind of went too far with that, and it was just like, he neglected everything else, and so he had to grovel and do things, and it was just perfect. Like, I loved it so much. And then when something happened and you thought he was going to miss something important again, and you realized, and she found out what happened, like the way that she reacted, like she was upset because she was like, what the heck? But then like she realized what happened, and then it was like, okay, it made sense, and it was just perfect. I loved it so much. Next up is kind of a cheat because it's an entire series, a 5-book series, following one couple. But I'm just going to talk about my favorite. Well, I'm not really even going to talk about my favorite because it's book 4, but it is the Off Balance series by Lucia Franco. I binged this entire series in one weekend. Like, I started on like a Wednesday and I finished it on Sunday. Like 1 book a day, basically. I loved this so much. And this book has a scene that lives rent-free in my head. Will live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life. Like, if you know, you know. The hurricane scene. Just absolutely perfection. The detailing on the cover that like once you read it, you like know, and you're like, oh, they added that, like that's there. And it's just, I love this book. So I love this whole series. This series follows Rhea and Kova, and Rhea is a gymnast and wants to train for elite gymnast status, and she convinces her father to let her go and train at his friend's gym, and his friend is Kova, Konstantin Kornikova, and he, Kova and Rhea may end up in a little bit of a taboo, forbidden relationship. There is cheating, but it is just, I love this book so much. And the end of this one has your jaw on the floor, ready for the next one. But I loved the whole series, but specifically Twist is my favorite. This is book 4. And you cannot read this one without having read the other 3. And you're going to want to read the 5th one. So, yeah. Next up is, again, a duology. I read a lot that I loved this year. And that is The Accounts of Duet. So this is The Serpent and the Wings of Night that I'm holding up, and the second book is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. But this is Rain and Orah, and it's very Hunger Games-esque, like, but with vampires. So Orah was raised by the Vampire King, and no idea why she's a human living in this vampire world. And once a year, I believe, or every couple years, they have these trials, or like a game, basically, where they compete, and like the top person gets, like the winner of the trials gets like a wish granted. And Orah wants to win because she's not going to become a vampire, but she wants to basically be able to survive in this world. I mean, she's a human living in a vampire world. So it's dangerous for her. And there at the competition, she meets a guy named Rain who might have some secrets of his own. And yeah, I absolutely adored this Duet. I read it in like I read it in like a weekend. It was perfect. It was like everything I had been struggling with fantasy romances, and this one like made me like love them again. And it was just like, yes. Like it gave me those like SJM feelings, and I loved it so much. Next up, we have a book that's probably on a ton of people's, and that's Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I left my copy in California. Both my copies are in California. Smart of me. Great. That's fine. But Fourth Wing, I'm sure everyone knows what it is. It follows a Violet Sorrengail who thinks she's going to be a scribe, and she ends up in the writer's quadrant to become a dragon writer because her mom's like, no daughter of mine is going to be a scribe. You're going to be a dragon writer. And there she goes into the school. There's battles. She is considered weak because she has a limb difference. She has a chronic illness, and not a limb difference. She just has a chronic illness, and she's very brittle bones, and she's quite weak. And yeah, it was just phenomenal. It was like the right book when I needed it. I read it not too long after reading Serpent, and it was just like, again, like I was in that in that fantasy romance like feeling world, and that book gave me those feelings. So yes, that is on there. Next up, we have Forever Your Rogue by Erin Langston. I also realized I skipped another book, but that's okay. We'll talk about that next. Forever Your Rogue by Erin Winstead. I loved this so much. This follows, it's a historical. It's like the only historical this year that like blew me out of the water. I loved it so much. This follows Nate and Cora is a single mom after her husband passed away, and she needs to find someone to pretend to be her husband or her fiance, because her dead husband's family wants to take her kids because they think that they don't think that a single mother can raise the kids properly. And she's like, no, these people suck. I don't want them to raise my children. So she convinces Nate, who is like her best friend's brother, to just kind of be her fake fiance for a while. And of course, fake fiance leads to real feelings, and it was just perfect. I loved it so much. And I actually read both the novellas this year. I loved both of those. Like, it was just fantastic. Yes. Then next up is a book I realized I forgot to talk about, but that's okay because it still fits in this category. And this is Forgive Me Not by Julie Soto. This follows Amma and Elliot, and it is a second chance romance that is told on 2 timelines, and it's great because the current timeline is told from Amma's perspective, and then the past timeline is told from Elliot's perspective, and then we get to like, and then it catches up to itself. But I absolutely adored it. I loved the short. I loved the way it was written. I liked that style of like his point of view being the past and hers being the future or the present day, and just like everything that they went through. Amma is a wedding planner, and she doesn't believe in marriage because her mom has been married like 17 times, and she's just like, whatever. She doesn't believe in it. And then Elliot is a florist, and they work together, and then they become really close, and some stuff happens, and he wants more of the relationship than she wants, and so some stuff happens, and they don't speak for a really long time. And now it's like years later, and they are wanting, there's a couple that wants both of them. Like, they want her to be the wedding planner, and they want him to do the flowers, and so they have to work together again. And of course, like, they realize how much like more creative they are together, and how much better they work together than apart. So it was beautiful. I loved it. Now we are going into numbers 1 and 2. These are my 2 favorites. I go back and forth every day. I'm still going back and forth on which one is like number 1, but I loved them both equally. And so I'm just gonna talk about the one I read the most recently, and that is Unsteady by Peyton Curran. This book is absolutely everything. This is Reese and Sadie, and Reese is a hockey player who in the prologue crashes into the boards, gets hit into the boards really hard, and he blacks out on the ice, can't talk, can't hear, like can't see, can't do it, like nothing other than like he hears his father screaming. And now it's like a couple months later, and he needs to get back out there, and he goes one day to the rink early in the morning to just kind of like before people are there, and on the ice is this girl named Sadie, and he starts to have a panic attack, and Sadie helps him through the panic attack. And there's like, she makes a playlist for him. It's just like the feelings that Sadie is basically supporting her and her 2 younger brothers, and she wants to, like, she doesn't want help. She tries to do it all on her own, but of course she's also going to school, and she's a figure skater, and she can't do it alone. So Reese starts to help her. He gets his friends to help her. He gets his parents to help, and his parents are like adorable. His dad still like adores his mom. It's just, it's beautiful. I love this book so much. And I mean, I tell Peyton all the time how much I love this book. Like, I've told her multiple times. So I loved this. And this was a debut. Like, if this was her debut, like, I can only imagine what's gonna happen in the future. But I loved this book so much, and everyone should read it. And then the other one that I also absolutely love, think about it all the time, is Reckless by Lucy Silver. People didn't love this one. I did. This is my favorite of the series. Unpopular opinion. I know everyone thinks Heartless is their favorite. It's my mom's favorite. Heartless is my mom's favorite, but Reckless is mine. Winter and Theo were just everything. Like, I see a lot of myself in Winter, and like a lot of like the struggles that Winter goes through. Like, I felt some of those like the aloneness that Winter feels. And I mean, obviously my parents aren't like her parents, but I absolutely adored this. It was just perfect. And the way Theo is when he finally meets his daughter, and so this is a surprise pregnancy / secret baby. It's a little far-fetched on the secret babiness, like, you know, Winter could have done a little bit more, but I didn't care. I loved it so much. And like the way Theo is with it, like, and how he just wants to help her. And also he's just a very dirty talking cowboy. So I absolutely loved this. But yeah, those are my 23 favorite books of 2023. And I'm super excited to get into 2024 and see what my favorite books are going to be there. I think about them like from day one. I'm like, all right, what's going to be my favorite? So yeah, what was your favorite book of the year? Let me know. I thought about doing like a least favorites, but I don't know. I just don't put that negativity out there. But yeah, I had a ton of other books that like I could have honorably mentioned. But yeah, absolutely loved all of these. If you made it to the end of this video, leave me a pink or a blue heart because these were my favorite books. And they have pink and blue on the cover. Yeah. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. It really helps me out. And I'll talk to you all in the next one.